and welcome. I am Madeleine Wolske. I am the business librarian here at Champaign Public Library, and I'd like to go over some features tonight. So if this is your first time using Zoom, welcome and kudos to you. So if you'll just look at the bottom center of your screen, you'll see some options. So the one I want to point out to you right now is the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to click on the chat and type a message to me. I'm the only panelist tonight. I just have two monitors going on. That's why there's two of me. So if you want me to pause, reiterate anything, go over anything else, please utilize that chat box. If you would like to instead verbalize, so voice a question, please feel free to raise your hand, let me know. I can unmute you, and you're welcome to ask your question then. I want to emphasize you're more than welcome to interrupt and ask questions during the presentation tonight. I will just pause and we'll continue because more than likely, if you have a question, someone else has it as well. All right, so quick library housekeeping. The library, Champaign Public, we are currently closed to the public, but we are still operating virtually and doing curbside service. So you can still book a librarian, and that's a one-on-one with one of our experts, myself included, at champaign.org/book-a-librarian. And that essentially is about a 30 to 1 hour long one-on-one meeting where we can talk about anything you'd like, and that's starting, growing, or sustaining a business. There's also live chat. If you go on our website, www.champaign.org, you can just type some questions in and a librarian will be there from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday and noon till 6 p.m. on Sunday to answer your questions. You can also email us at any time, librarian@champaign.org. And I'll go over all of this information at the end. I just want you to know we are recording tonight and I will be uploading this video to our YouTube and also distributing it to everyone here. And also this whole presentation, I will also share with everyone after the webinar. Realistically, tomorrow I'll send you all an email that will include a recording of the webinar, but also a copy of the PowerPoint. All right, so without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and start with a poll. And here we go. So I'm really curious, where are you all at? We have 12 people here right now, maybe a little increase, but where are you at in regards to creating your own e-commerce website? So you have a couple of seconds to do this. I'll just wait until everyone has voted, but just do this at your own leisure. I'm just going to go ahead and start. All right, so pre-pandemic, small businesses have been slow to get on the website train. I think we're all guilty of using a Facebook or Instagram business page as our main mode of communication, advertising, and business info. Creating a website was always I'll get to it, and never a priority. As we all know and experience currently, the pandemic has changed how we do business drastically. We no longer have the brick and mortar storefront where a customer can casually browse or where you can talk to them and establish trust and make that sale with your personality. The in-person buying process is no more. And instead, we've had to reevaluate how we connect with customers, how we market ourselves, and how we establish trust, make sales, and catalyze growth. So the focus has been on surviving for the majority of the pandemic instead of thriving. And this evening, I want to kind of pivot that mindset. We're going to go over how to create an e-commerce site, how to maintain it and set it up for success, and also how you can strategically grow your business online instead of relying on in-person sales. So it looks like most everyone has commented. The business is still just a twinkle in your eye, and I hope you enjoyed reading that as much as I enjoyed creating it. But yeah, I think the majority, it looks like, yeah, we're in the beginning of the business, beginning of our website venture. So that's awesome. I'm just going to go ahead and exit out in the polling. Great. So I guess I won't have to skip over any slides since we're starting at the very beginning. Okay. Here we go. All right. So first steps first. As the old adage goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Building a website without a plan is like constructing a building without blueprints. Things end up in the wrong place, features are overlooked, and the situation is ripe for miscommunication between your business and potential customers. Planning your website ahead of time will give it a clear direction, as well as prevent missed deadlines and backtracking. So as a reformed perfectionist, it's really hard for me to get out of the big picture mentality and break it down and really just tackle each small building block at a time. So I want to encourage you to, instead of jumping straight into the potential website platforms and design, we need to start at the beginning. So your online presence is essentially your business card and your first impression to both customers, clients, and potential collaborators. So we need to make it as organized and as user-friendly as possible. And I have someone in chat, they mentioned, yes, you do have an Etsy shop. I am very familiar with your work, so thank you for joining us tonight. But yeah, I think that's a common thing too. It's instead of creating your own website, utilizing Amazon or Etsy. So we'll go over that a little bit in the future as well. So let's go to the next slide. So goals and wants. We need to be clear on what our objectives are and map out our goals and needs and figure out of all the content before creating the website. So I want you all to ask yourself the very big question: why do you want a site for your business? What is the purpose of your website? Is it to gain publicity? Is it to sell inventory? It's important to identify your website's purpose as well as your target audience, which PS, I led a webinar on this last month, and I'm so happy to forward the link to that to anyone who's interested in learning more about their target audience. And also ask yourself, how many visitors do I expect in a month? How many visitors do I want? How much money in sales do I want to make? How many leads do I want to grab? So it's focusing on setting measurable, specific goals for your website that are in line with marketing goals or other ones. So I have written down a couple of goals here that I would have for my e-commerce website. So focusing specifically on generating leads. I want more customers because I want to sell more material, showcasing good work, sharing knowledge. It's also important to showcase your work or products because it helps generate leads by communicating experience, integrity, and personal service. Again, we don't have that brick and mortar aspect where someone can come in and they can maybe see my work, they can browse, they can talk to friends. So the showcasing, this gallery, that conveys that to customers virtually. So again, incentivizing customers to purchase your items. That's the goal of it. We want to make that money, or I do on my e-commerce website. All right, next, after we have our goals, we identify our needs and features. So ask yourself, what does your website need to have in order to get to your goals? So your needs are the features that must be in place to reach the goals we mentioned. So consider your favorite websites that you enjoy shopping from and use those as examples to identify what to include. So I think of, especially if I want to open up a clothing store, I hate a landing page for clothing stores because I'm just there to buy clothes. I want to know how to access the clothing, and that's it really. So this clear call to action, that's just the click for me, is where I click to access the inventory. That's what this website does. That's all I want as a consumer. So it essentially allows your customers to understand what they're supposed to do and what they can expect to get from your website. So that could also be maybe you have a button that's click here to purchase these pottery things, click here to look into landscape possibilities. So I also have about page and contact. So that's two separate bullet points, but listed twice, kind of the same thing, because it pains me to share this detail, but people, myself included, don't like to read online. So when we interact with online information, we have an expectation of being this instantaneous, automatic thing. So the information that you present on your website, especially about yourself and your business, it needs to be persistent. So it needs to be at the bottom of the page, in an about section, in a contact us here, maybe even having social media buttons at the top. So the goal of our website is to sell items or services. And so lastly, the store and project gallery, it needs to be prevalent. And it's interesting, these features that identify those goals, there's not a ton because again, we want these websites to be simple, uniform, and clear, easy for customers and consumers to identify how we can help them. All right, so next, some site requirements. This is your how. So consider the overall look of your website, of your brand. It should reflect the nature and attitude of your business. So this is design aspect of it. And I will mention in 2 weeks, we do have a webinar that's all about curating and cultivating your brand. I'll speak more about it later, but I'm just excited. So designing, you'll think, what does this consumer want to feel when they open up my link? Do I want to have warm colors? Do I want it to be really minimalistic? What best describes your business? Next, your site should be customizable because you want to have the ability to grow and change with your business. Some platforms, like Squarespace, for example, you're not able to transform that website into anything else. You are stuck using that specific theme that you choose, and you don't really have the ability to maybe, if you want to reach a global market. Squarespace, and I think SquareUp too, they don't really translate well to international. So that's something to take into consideration. So then we're talking about user experience, commonly referred to UX, and customer experience, CX. So that's essentially accessibility and responsiveness. Again, people want things instantly, really easy to access. If you're designing a website with lots of videos, those videos might take a while to load. That's not an incredibly responsive site. Or also, if I'm accessing it on my phone, it's not gonna, maybe the videos, it's gonna take longer to load. And even maybe the layout of the site, it isn't mobile friendly. So take these things into consideration when you're considering your site requirements. Customer experience, that's the consumer buying process. How are you going to set up your cart? Do you want it to essentially like remind people like, hey, you have one item in here? Or do you want it to be really just kind of in the background? These are things you have to decide what works best for your brand and business. And lastly, content type. Do you want to make sure that you identify a platform that can host the type of content that you want included? So if you want videos or even maybe virtual reality, are you going to be utilizing a platform or a website form that allows you to do that? So these are some considerations you need to have in mind. Okay, and again, if you have any questions, just type them in. Lastly, organize everything. So remember when we would create like an outline of our papers in school where you'd have the intro, body, everything like that. So we're doing something similar with our websites. We're creating a sitemap. So this is essentially a logical visualization of the website, and it's organized. It's an organized layout that helps us know how to structure the site. This is your map, again, the blueprint. I also want to emphasize, don't skip any of the small steps. It is so vital to keep all of your information organized in a way that makes sense to you. For me, that's utilizing Google Drive and creating, probably realistically, too many folders for all the type of content that I would put on my website. Yeah, let's go back to the sitemap. So I'm going to actually exit out of this and show you all something. So I'm still sharing, but I'm going to start a new share. So back to the sitemap. Let's do, this is the right one. Yep, looks great. Okay, so I am sharing this beautiful sitemap here. This is what I had created in Milanote. It's a wonderful app, but you can kind of see just this vague layout. I have my home. I want people to be able to go to an about section. I want a blog. I want a store, which maybe has some smaller ones. I'm actually going to share so you all can go to this. So this Milanote, this is my fun thing that I'm very excited to share with you. It is kind of just a drawing board where you can't edit this, but you can create your own account. And this is actually a template. So if I go to home, I'm just gonna right click, new board, double click on that. I can do, oop, no, Brett, I don't want to talk to you right now. More templates. And I can just search sitemap. And there you go. So you can actually customize your own at home, create it. And I also love this because I haven't used the template yet, so I'm going to go back to my other board. Again, completely customizable. And this is also another space where you can organize your information. So you could create that Google Drive, but okay, so I have my blog ideas. I'm doing a clothing store. One of my posts is going to be about styling. I can double click. That opens up this whole new board, which is my styling board, and I can add links. I could link to some files that I have in my Google Drive. So if I've written up any documents, any news articles, I can attach it here, which again, I'm such a visual person. I love seeing all of my information out in front of me. So this works best for me. I'll also encourage you, if you're not really a big fan of this visual layout, there are a ton of other sitemap templates. So I'll just type that in. You can I just recommend doing a Google search and a lot pop up. This is just the one that's my favorite, that works best for me. You might also notice, I'm gonna move my camera down a little bit so I can scroll to the side. There we go. So this Milanote, it's not just an example about the sitemap. These are also just some reference materials that will help you throughout this webinar, and additional checklists that I found really helpful. So just as an explanation of what those things are. But going back to the sitemap, so essentially, again, it ensures that all parts of the structure reinforce the purpose of the website. We want to make sure this outline is the sure path to building your own effective website. Okay, so now I think we should probably dive into some really cool e-commerce examples and options. So new share, there we go. Okay. I'm not even gonna bother presenting it. No, I will. All right, so we've all heard about WordPress, I'm pretty sure. It's not my favorite. Gonna just say it, it's definitely not my favorite. And that's mainly because it takes too much time to learn. So here's the big kicker. You want to find something that takes into consideration your own time, your own efforts, what exactly you're doing, and do it in a way that's incredibly easy for you. So I did a lot of research on what were the best e-commerce templates and what I recommend people to look for. So I took into consideration price, how customizable these things are, if you're able to grow with it, implement other things, also payment features. So my two favorites that I think will benefit the majority of people here, Wix and Shopify. You'll notice I didn't put in Etsy here. I didn't put in Amazon, any other third-party sellers, and that's mainly because I have a bit of an issue with them. I think as independent sellers, it's just not the best idea to just, what is the squiggly line one? Oh, that is Squarespace, and this is Square Up. You think they would have named it something different, but Square Up, this was a Square point of sale system. It started as just a payment system, but I think it was 2 years ago, they unveiled Square Up, which is a e-commerce platform. Forget what I was talking about, but, oh, Etsy. Yeah, Etsy's a great place, especially for small makers to kind of get some traffic, get a little bit traffic. But the problem with Etsy and creating your own website a little bit as well, it's oversaturated. There are so many people doing so many amazing things on these platforms that it doesn't really give you the best idea to highlight these things, highlight your own goods. Okay, I have a question. What makes Wix and Shopify better? I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to go out to Wix. So I'm going to showcase you Wix first. So it's coming in as the cheapest e-commerce plan at $23 a month. And that is not including your domain. So I'm also assuming that you all already have a domain. You can purchase one for about $10 from GoDaddy.com or other places. I would recommend purchasing your domain outside of any e-commerce platform that you use, just because then you're stuck. It's going to be really difficult for you to get that domain out of that platform if you choose to go in a different direction with your business. So that's a little disclaimer. Get your domain from a different place than where you use the platform. So Wix also, it's so user-friendly. It's a drag and drop website builder, so it's excellent, easy to use. The tech support is amazing, even on a basic plan, and it includes e-commerce apps to further customize your site. So it includes that abandoned cart recovery. So it'll send people automatic emails that they're able to create their own accounts within your website and save items. You can see on this example here, you can heart items. And that allows you as a business person to give them recommendations, make it a more personalized shopping experience for them. It also has multi-channel integration, which I am here for. Essentially, you can sell on Instagram through Wix without installing any additional apps. It also has a buy now, add to cart button to make it really easy for consumers to get in, get out, very user-friendly. It also has store card details, so they can store a card information, which on that note, it's a secure website, which, like if you create your own WordPress, that's not inherently a secure website. And some people look out for that. Like I know if I'm on a independent maker's website, I scroll down to the bottom of the screen and I want to see that little McAfee icon or something else where I know that when I put in my card information, it's secure. So again, with Wix, can store your card information. Also, especially for those who are selling goods, integrations with ShipStation. So this is a seamless shipping experience for your customers. So it allows you, it takes the guesswork out of shipping. So it includes a flat rate shipping cost and makes it easy for you. Let me go to this. Yes, I totally agree, Priscilla. Someone commented, got the domain through WordPress. It has definitely been hard for me to figure out how to integrate e-commerce. Yeah, and so WordPress uses the plugin Woocommerce, which interestingly enough is the most popular e-commerce platform, even though it's a plugin, because essentially it's so customizable. I really recommend, if you have the time and if you have the patience and really the drive of wanting to learn how to code, dedicate maybe a year of your time to getting really good at WordPress, I say go for it, because again, it's the most customizable thing. If you want to eventually create this huge brand, huge website selling to a ton of people, then WordPress is a good option for you. But as far as user friendliness, it's not there. All right, so I'm just going to show you, and I think I also had a really wonderful one-on-one book a librarian appointment with someone who we were talking about. She was selling videos of herself teaching lessons to people, and she was really frustrated with WordPress. And Wix also, you can sell media, sell videos on this besides just goods. So I'm just going to show you this drag and drop. Look at that. Maybe I want my earring here. I'm going to put her over there though. And it's very user-friendly. Again, on the Millinote, I added a little video. Sorry guys, I'm having fun with 2 monitors tonight. Camera's going over the place. Platform tutorials. This YouTube video I think is 15 minutes. I'm a big fan of watching things on 1.25 speed. It's so easy to set up the Wix website. And again, knowing that you're getting all of those amazing services included for $23 a month, I'd say it's definitely worth it. So another aspect of Wix I really like, they have some integrated SEO, which is search engine optimization, which I'll go into a little bit later. And essentially to allow you to include keywords so you can show up at a higher point on search engines. So Wix does, and that's been a recent thing they've been working on, is just adding in these integrative software. And even you can customize Wix further by doing additional apps. So if the basic stuff just isn't getting it for you, you can customize it even more. I also like this feature. You can switch from desktop to mobile to see exactly how it's going to look like on a phone. And that is incredibly user-friendly. All right, so I'm going to go over Shopify now. Oh my gosh, I have my notes all over the place, which is fine. Okay. I like Shopify because it essentially has a lot of the same features as Wix. Honestly, all the same ones that I mentioned in Wix. It has less design templates, but Shopify also, this is better for those bigger storefronts, those bigger brands. So this is for the person who they're selling more than 20 different items. I will say like less than, I'd say around 10 is probably good for a Wix site as far as what they support, but you can add like, I could do one pair of earrings, which is one size, but like 5 different iterations of that one object. So they say 10 items, but you can make that work for you. With Shopify, it is less, it's still a very, very easy platform to learn compared to other ones, but it just has a lot more users. They've been at it a lot longer than Wix has, and this is someone's actual website. So I love that they actually include these great examples for you to use. Shopify doesn't have, so the free templates, they only have about 10. And also I think you're paying about $27 a month for Shopify, so a little bit more expensive, but not an insane amount. But they have 10 free templates, 10 free designs, and then the other ones you'll have to pay for. So that's the only other stipend with Shopify. But again, they make shipping incredibly easy. They include tax. Also, Shopify, it's really great for people who want an international business. They have the largest amount of basically payment options. So that's including PayPal, all these cards. I don't think they do Venmo, but that would be really cool if they did. But yeah, so a lot of options. Does anyone have any questions about Shopify or Wix? I wanted to show you guys, so after, I'm also happy to share if anyone wants to know the places that I visited as far as compiling this research and figuring out these 2 best platforms. So if you have any questions, please shout out. If not, I'm gonna keep on going because there isn't a lot that I can talk. Well, thank you. Yep, they like all the knowledge we're sharing tonight, so that's great. This isn't, with an hour, DIY e-commerce, I'm not digging deep into a lot of topics. We're kind of being a little superficial, but I want you to take this webinar as maybe a starting point for a book a librarian. So some of the things that we go over in here tonight, so if you do want to use Shopify to start your e-commerce business, but maybe you want, you need a little bit of extra help, contact me for a book a librarian and I will one-on-one help with you. So diving further into those kind of intermediate issues instead of tonight, because we are halfway through the class already. All right, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and we're going to talk a little about how to optimize your website. So I know the majority of people don't have one yet, but quite a few people do. And this is also good to know because it also gives you kind of a basis of, okay, where should I go from here? Maybe what are some things that I should take into consideration while I'm creating my website? So how do I compete with, I believe there's 18 billion websites out there, and it's growing just because, especially with the pandemic, we're seeing a huge surge in people who are shopping online. Also, as a small business, how do I increase the amount of people who are just coming into my website? Also, how do I utilize search engine optimization, SEO, to make your page come up? So we're going to go through SEO real quick. Again, there's more resource sources on that Mila app, and I really encourage you to just click, read, and learn. So search engine optimization focuses on where you find it in Google, where your site comes up in Google. So it's essentially making sure your website is easily ranked and easily found by people. So I'm contacting Google almost like if I were calling them. So how do I use a search engine? I put in my keywords, and those keywords, the search engine is essentially using crawlers, which is a technical term, to comb through and index all of the information online, and based off of the authenticity and the usability and 200 other factors specific to Google, they are organizing you in a list from most reliable, most recommended. So this is the items that Google think will most likely answer your question, to the items that Google thinks will not answer your question at all. So it's kind of like throwing out a query. So I'm going to now, we're going to go through it together, and I'm going to talk about some of the features in Google. Oop. So let's go back to this website. Here we are. And I'm going to type in best SEO tools. And we're going to see what pops up. So the search engine is organized in a couple of ways. We have the popular on the web up here, and these are the most recommended items from Google. You also might see this is similar if you search for some books like X, books like Harry Potter. It'll have some recommendations. Granted, my search page has been trained to search for best SEO tools because that's what I've been searching for these past month. But let's put in another thing. I want to see if I can get in one of the boxes, and this is a knowledge graph. So right over here, you kind of see the outline of Thomas Jefferson. This is actually information that the search engine has pulled from websites because of keywords, and they've compiled the answer. So my query, my question, Thomas Jefferson, Google wants to find the answer. And when you see this box feature here, that's the best answer. And it's interesting too, because the majority of facts or just phrases within this box here are actually from web pages that are further down the line. So why is that important? It's because 70% of the people who utilize search engines, they don't go past the first 3 results. Only 10% of all people click on page 2, which is pretty significant. So as a small business, you want to make sure that you're one of those 3 people. So people that maybe, yeah, so interesting. I think it's fascinating. But again, I'm a librarian. Yeah. People just don't click on things. Again, it's like how we interact with information online. We want it fast. We want it instantaneous. We don't want to work for it because, you know, Google is doing it all for us right now. So how do we get, or what exactly? So we know, I told you that it's ranking them based off of what's Google's perception of the right answer. So Google also ranks it based off of domain authority. So that includes, it's essentially a rank between 0 and 100 that determines how authoritative your website is. So when you have a high domain authority, it can considerably improve your website's ability to rank in search engines for more competitive keywords. So you can improve this domain authority, and it also includes page authority. So you might even just have one page of your website that is featured in the top 3 search engine, which that's just interesting. Google does what Google does. So we can improve this by having content-rich websites, having a presence on social media, collaborating with other websites and brands, and building organic backlinks, which are essentially if someone has a blog and they write about your product or they refer back to something on your page, they're including that backlink. So it's a link to something on your website that's on someone else's website. So that's a backlink. So by building these organic backlinks to your web page and having specific pages on your website, it essentially, you want to convey to Google that you have the most credible website, that you know the most about Thomas Jefferson or the best SEO 101 tools. So Google also takes the usability of your website into consideration. And again, I mentioned that I think exactly 200 factors that Google uses to organize and list the websites. So usability is a huge one. So that's the user experience of your site. So if you created a website that's easy to click on, but people spend less than a minute in, your page is not going to rank high in authority. Also, when you're making that search query, you want to make sure that your website is the last thing someone clicks. So if someone goes, they click on the whitehouse.gov for Thomas Jefferson, they do a backclick, they go to another one of those links, that's going to downrank your site essentially. A really cool tool, once you have your site established, that is again on those notes I gave you, it's called the Moz ranker, Moz bar. So essentially, and you can kind of see this right up here, they are actually the creators of domain authority. And it's a tool. It's not essentially invented by Google, the number isn't, but they've found a really high correlation between sites that have a high domain authority number, so like 100, compared to others. So if I click on this, whitehouse.gov, we can see the page authority is only 60, so not the highest, which is a little troublesome, but the domain authority of the website as a whole is 93 out of 100. So we have a question, would items from an Etsy shop be picked up as a page in a Google search? It will. So Etsy, again, the benefit of having your own website, you can plug in a lot of these keywords and increase your SEO, so the optimization of search engine terms. With Etsy, you don't have that customization. They don't have those incredible plugins that you can get with Shopify or honestly anything else. So I'm just going to search. I would have to put in Etsy, I bet. I'm just going to search if I can spell it correctly. I can't spell palette correctly. I want pencil. So let's see if maybe if I'm trying to find an Etsy, I would probably do handmade, yeah, let's do handmade watercolor palette. Etsy did pop up. Yeah. And you'll also notice, check out the images on the ads. That's another SEO thing. Etsy and Amazon, Prestige Creative, they have attached keyword tags to these images. So you can optimize the SEO on your images, which will, again, raise up your overall domain authority and increase the ranking of your website. Google also, they do have algorithms and they prioritize these, that's a really beautiful image, really beautiful images. You all might be familiar with alternative texts, alt text, but essentially it's a really great way for people who might not be able to see the image. They can see what the image says, so the description. That's essentially what alt text is. And that's another place where you can put in keywords. So I would put in watercolor palette, artist, natural wood and leather palette. Oh, that is really high quality palette. $54 it should be. But yeah, so Etsy does have SEO, but again, it's not customizable. So you are limited by what Etsy can do. It's definitely worth doing some more research with Etsy. You might be able to do alt text on Etsy. I would be really surprised if you weren't able to do That would be another search, which now I'm curious, I'll have to check it out. I like Etsy really to use as just a promotional place. I know the majority of people who have Etsy, it's as a way to link back to your own website to maybe have more products, because as Etsy, I believe it charges you like 20 cents per listing, even if you don't sell. But I consider Etsy a promotional tool less than a really great e-commerce site. So backtracking, the usability of your website. So if your website takes a while to load, like if I had a website with really big, high quality images, maybe they're saved as a PNG type file. And maybe whatever platform I'm using, I need to make the file size smaller. It'll still be really good quality, to increase the speed that everything loads up. Because again, we're creatures of habit. We want everything to be instantly available to us at all times of the day. If I can't buy this artist palette within 3 seconds, I'm not into it. Actually, later on, I believe there was a stat, it takes like 0.05 milliseconds. That's how long it takes for someone to decide if they're into it or not. Oh, thank you. Someone mentioned Etsy also charges an additional 12% of a sale when someone purchases goods through a link they published. Yeah, just make your own website. All right, so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Do we have, I'm going to go in a little bit more with SEO, but I did also link, we have access to LinkedIn Learning if you're a Champaign Public Library card holder. If you're not, talk to me and I can hook you up. LinkedIn Learning, it used to be lynda.com. It will teach you, there's this great course called SEO for Ecommerce, taught by Dale Tips, and I actually have Sam Day. I don't know why I said Day Tips. Well, that's his website. You can take this course. It's 40 minutes and it is amazing. And here's kind of a list of where you should apply SEO to your website. So again, website loads quickly. SSL is secure. So we had mentioned with Wix, it has a secure integration within there. That's going to up you up on domain authority because it's going to be like, oh, she's got her stuff figured out. People can purchase on this platform safely and securely. So Google likes that. All right, so now I'm going back to e-commerce. Okay, we talked about this a little bit. Briefly touching on HTML and XML sitemap. It's very blurry. Please bear with me. This looks a lot like what we did earlier, right? With sitemaps. So this is a silo structure. So if you're a search engine, if you have to go through each possible way on the website, so I'm Google, I have to go through the home page, then this category, then this one, then that one, going through all these links in order to catalog and index all of these separate pages, that's going to take a long time. Google doesn't want to do that. So up here you'll see, what is that? A secret shortcut. Sitemap HTML and XML, robots.txt, ignore that. We're not going to talk about that today. But essentially, you can, maybe in your About page, include a sitemap. And it's essentially links. It's this. You can, I added again a link, how to create your own XML sitemap. It's typically, it's not for human consumption. It's a page that's purely for the search engine. It just gives them the layout of your entire website, every single page on there, in a way that they can quickly go through and organize. So having an easy to access XML, which again, just a page on your About page. So just a link on your About page. And there's a generator in the document I sent to you all, or I shared with you all, to generate your own. So having this sitemap makes it super easy for your site to be searched and, yeah, accessed by the internet. The last thing I want to mention on, again, is content. The more content you have, the more keywords you have. The more keywords you have that's kind of related to your site, the more SEO, and the more authority you're going to get. But it is so important to not create content for content's sake. The content you create really needs to be valuable. And that's because Google wants to make sure you're a trusted authority. They want to be able to pass and recommend you on to other people. So what Google will also do, which by now we all understand that the internet is a creepy, creepy place, it will basically monitor who visits what and how long they visit a site. So again, I mentioned you want to be the last place Google clicks on. If you maybe I have a barbecue site and I literally just created a blog post and I just made a huge list of related keywords. People aren't going to read that. People aren't going to share it. They're not going to consume that content. Therefore, Google will not share it. So SEO takes time. By takes time, I mean you can definitely get it up and running on your website in a relatively short amount of time by just adding keywords, creating some really great content, but for it to work, it takes time. I'd say probably realistically a year, because you want that content to be shared. You want people to visit it, which again can take time. So good examples of content, that would be, again, I'm a barbecue site. I'm going to write something about, I think I already talked about this, I'm not sure. But yeah, so grills, maybe specific types of wood to smoke with, anything related around barbecuing, you want to be writing about it. You want to be an authority on it. Oh, when I say keywords, can I give an example? Yeah, so that's anything you put into the search bar. So Thomas Jefferson is a keyword. It's so if I were e-commerce, again, I'm a clothing store, women's clothing, that's a keyword. Maybe that's my seed keyword. So women's clothing is the whole theme of my website. I want to then include keywords that are related to that one. So maybe I just sell sweaters made by a very unique sheep. Sheep's wool. I would include that sheep's wool, but also just to be on the safe side, I'd maybe write something that would include why my sheep's wool is better than everyone else's sheep's wool, and listing these other sheep wool or sheep. I'm not doing a good job at my plural nouns at this evening, I'm sorry. But yeah, so you want to essentially, whenever someone types in something, you want those keywords, those queries, to direct them to your site. So let me share. Did that answer your question? Let me know. So I'm going to continue going. We have about 12 minutes left. I want to go over Google reviews. So important to get your information out on all of these amazing sites. All right. We got the question answered. Fantastic. So it's been a long time known that customers have to say about your business carries more weight than what you have to say about your business, no matter how great your service is or how genuine your messaging may be. And knowing how much value consumers place into customer reviews, Google has factored all of these things into a local ranking algorithm. So not just the quantity of these rankings, but also the quality of these reviews really impact how a consumer is going to utilize and visit your site. So Google reviews impacts your ability to acquire new customers and also your rank. So if you have a lot of reviews, again, this is going to improve your SEO rank. You're going to come up higher than the other barbecue joints in the town. There has been studies shown 3.3 stars is the minimum amount that people are going to go for a business. If you have less than 3.3 stars, that's not a good look, and people aren't going to come. So how can you increase the amount and quality of your reviews? This is where Customer Service 101 comes in. Again, we're really thinking about how people purchase items, maybe in person, and how we can translate that over to a virtual environment. So consider small, seemingly insignificant touches to increase customer satisfaction. That might be sending a thank you note. That might be giving them personalized recommendations. Again, if you use Wix, you can see what people are looking at and maybe make some personalized recommendations based on that. So customers also base the reviews off of other reviews. So again, the more positive reviews you have, it's just going to exponentially increase. So what happens if you get a really bad review? It is so important, and this is where customers really pay attention to address it, answer it, and convey how you're going to take that and make your business better. So the reviews need to be natural, essentially, and you need to respond naturally in a way that you would if you were in person. A lot of people think that you can incentivize a review, which is counterintuitive. It's actually really wrong. Well, it's not wrong, but it won't increase the amount you make. Like larger review aggregators do that. So it's like, if you write a review, we'll give you 15% off your next purchase. That's not going to incentivize me to leave a good review. I'm just going to probably leave a period. I could be a horrible person. I am horrible. No, I won't do that. But that happens actually quite often. People just leave a 1 or a period just so they can get that 15%. So you're not getting those high quality natural reviews that are going to help you in the long run. So it is so important to get some good Google reviews. I'll also want to mention it's good establishing your business and treating it as an in-person brick and mortar through Google reviews. Because again, even if you're a sole proprietor, you still have a physical address, although I caution you on using it, especially if you're working out of your own home. But establishing your business on Google, on Yelp, and you can also upload that sitemap we had talked about, this one. Google Business has its own area where you can upload that sitemap. So again, it's guaranteed that your website is going to have a higher ranking than others. And again, that is on the sheet that I gave you, the interactive document. I'm going to briefly go over these last 3 things you can do to really increase use and thrive as an e-commerce merchant. And these are all really about the customer buying experience. We are wanting to make this as personalized as possible because someone can't just come into my store anymore and I can't ask them just random questions. So it's so important to make their virtual experience as engaging and personal as possible. Consider yourself their official concierge. You want to be incredibly responsive. So that might be incorporating a messaging service on your website. So I attached Podium to the resource I gave you. That's actually a free text messaging site where it essentially just adds a little box to your website. You can direct text people, or they can direct text you. But instead of sending it to your phone, it sends it to a dashboard. So you have a nice personal business separation there, which I know we all make incredibly important. Next, it's really important to reduce friction by offering ultimate convenience and getting creative with how you're offering that. So this could be creating maybe gift guides. It's the holiday season. I love reading about these and sending that information out, maybe in a newsletter, asking people when they check out if they want to engage in a newsletter with you. You can get creative by doing personalized recommendations. Maybe when you're thinking about your target market, create a gift list for your buyer persona. I have a question. I will be sharing my email. I'll just write it in right here at champaign.org. Yes. And again, reducing friction includes just making your site as user-friendly as possible. That includes a lot of testing and asking your friends and family to test your website before you make it live, and ask them to be honest. I'm sure they are not afraid of giving you their opinion. Again, that's something you can go over with us at the library as well. Lastly, optimizing your online presence by coordinating your strategies and using tools. So list of tools and the resources that I gave you on that interactive worksheet. Also ensuring that all of your information is up to date and it's sending the same message. So once you've created that branding for your website, make sure it's streamlined throughout all of your social media pages and all that your contact information is completely updated at all times. Wow. I feel like the hour always goes by so quickly. Trying to get the last bit of information out. I also want to encourage everyone to get a little creative too. So I know in the past I've used social media as a way to sell items and objects, and that granted does have a different payment system, but don't be afraid. Think outside of the credit card. I also have a couple of 2021 buying trend forecasts, especially relating to e-commerce, that I will send to you in an email just so you can kind of coordinate your efforts in order to better appeal to more individuals. So I'm going to take these last 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions for me or want me to go over anything specifically? All right. I'm happy that you came. One thing that, yeah, this was so much fun to research for, and I did really enjoy getting to learn how to utilize both Wix and Shopify. So I put my name in the chat box. I encourage you to email me. It is a busy time for everyone right now, so I apologize if I don't get back to you immediately, but know that all the librarians are here and we would love to help you. We're still doing all of our services virtually, even if you can't come in person, and even if you just want maybe a book recommendation, like you finished Gone Girl, you need something else suspenseful, call us up. So you can also contact the Adult Services Department at 217-403-2070. And I'm just gonna, oh yeah, I am excited. I know I really hope that if you do take any of these tips and tricks and apply them, keep me informed, because I am always so curious to see where people are now, where they're going. All right, so I'm gonna leave you all with some information on the next business webinar. So champaign.org/business. And I'm just gonna scroll down, business events, right in one place. So it's on December 21st, Cultivating Your Brand. And it's with Mallory Simmons. And I'm so excited for this because I feel like it's so frustrating to see, I don't know, again, the perfectionism is coming out for me personally, but I always love it when everything looks perfect. And it's so hard to decide, how do you want your brand to look like? What do you want your business to convey? So Mallory is going to help you identify what to do and how to do it. Getting some feedback. Wow, someone came in here from Charlotte, North Carolina tonight. Welcome. I am so glad that you came in. I also encourage you all, I now have the spring 2021 webinars and events up, and I believe all of the adult services, we have the calendar up. So I'm so excited for the new year. I'm really offering some awesome classes. So we have setting goals for success, great for those who are starting their business, but also those who maybe want to reevaluate some of their objectives and grow their business. This is taught by Brittany McVeigh. She's a local counselor that specializes in SMART goals. And the cool thing is that's at 7 p.m. At 8 a.m. on the 14th, she's going to come in one-on-one, and we're going to essentially have a breakout rooms and one-on-one consultations, and we're going to talk about what we learned on that fourth class and apply it to our business and use her as a kind of a board to bounce ideas off of. So I hope you all will join me for those. Again, if you have any questions, I'm Madeleine Wolske, the Business Librarian at Champaign Public Library. And again, do not hesitate to reach out. Website is champaign.org. You can email us at librarian@champaign.org or give us a call at 217-403-2070. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.